Welcome to a brand new week here on Breakfast Central. The team is complete. We're excited to be here. Last week, we were at Abuja from Monday up until Wednesday, bringing you details of NESG on Thursday and Friday. But now we're here. The full squad is here to bring you for the next 3 hours. Very interesting story, starting, of course, with wake-up conversations, which will give you the opportunity to share your feedback on X as well as on YouTube where we're streaming live. My name is Olive Emodiani. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I'm Benga Borough. Olive, we might be having first-time viewers. You said, last week we were streaming from Abuja. Where are we?
We are in Lagos.
Okay, good. The Center of Excellence.
Yes.
And the City of Aquatic Splendor. Yes, don't forget it. If you get it. If you don't get it. Forget about it. Yes, welcome. Hope you had a splendid weekend. I did. It was quite eventful, and it was good to let my hair down, this short hair that I have. And I hope you also had a fantastic weekend. It's the start of a brand new week. We have so many news breaking and news to follow up on. And of course, as always, our very interesting wake-up conversations. I am Benga Aboroa.
And I'm Joe Hansen, welcoming you to a Monday's edition of Breakfast Central. Well, don't forget that you can be part of the show by watching online or streaming, and you could drop a comment or two on YouTube, on X, or better still on Instagram. Wherever you find us, please go ahead and drop a comment. We'll find your comments, and we'll also feel free here to talk about them or read them out. But we're starting off with a very, very interesting conversation.
But first of all, how's your weekend?
My weekend, eventful.
Eventful.
Very eventful.
Positively eventful.
Well, yeah, eventful, because it seems like the rest just won't come. When you try to rest, there's an activity, or you have to be somewhere here and there.
You're just suffering from
Besides,
billionaires' behavior. They're always active.
Always busy.
Always busy.
Yeah. Well, I claim it. That's what they say now. I claim it. But then again, the traffic in Lagos has also caused the unrest, especially when I say unrest, like internal unrest. Everybody should have, you should be peace. You should have peace, internal peace, relax. But on Friday, there was this long traffic. I'm tired of talking of traffic. Today was
what caused Friday, so?
Bad roads. There are numerous potholes on the Lekki axis.
Yeah, and
this morning, I spent 1 hour, 20 minutes, despite leaving home very early in the morning. So I was saying, maybe I need to review. I need to start waking up at 3:30 a.m.
How much sleep will you get?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not good for you. You won't be a productive and quality human being if you
leave as early as 5 a.m. You leave as early as 4:55, yet you still spend 1 hour, 20 minutes just to get from one point to the other.
Lagos State Public Works should deal with these roads as a matter of emergency, because they say time is money. You are losing productive time in traffic.
And a lot of
quality of sleep, quality of life, quality of health. It's not just building mega projects that makes one a mega city. There's also the indices of livability.
Yeah.
How do people thrive in this city? What's the quality of life?
And
these things contribute to the quality of life.
You mentioned that it really is a ripple effect. So when people are not getting adequate sleep because the roads are bad, what you would then see is if the bad road can lead to accidents, it would lead to people spending the most. We already spend
Why do you think people are easily triggered?
Exactly. And we already spend the most of our lives at work because people are either commuting to work or from work. Imagine all the time that people could add
and then doing the work
to doing the actual work. So it's a lot, and we hope that it's treated as an issue of national urgency. And I'm so sorry that you had to. I had a completely different weekend. It was a little more restful. Yesterday was a good one. I wasn't interested. I wasn't now feeling too well over the course of the weekend. I was away from my phones for the most part, but I feel a lot better. And
if I had known, I would have been calling non-stop.
It won't ring. It was
your body was telling you, Olive, it's time to come down.
I want to actually use this opportunity to give a special shout out to Miracle Ogonna and to Marvelous. These two ladies have been such wonderful blessings to my life, and they had their celebrations of their birthday, I think on Friday.
Are they twins?
They're not twins, interestingly. They're both, I know both of them separately.
But the name sounds like
Marvelous. I know, but Marvelous was born on the same day as Miracle. They were born the same day, the same year. They both turned 29 on Friday.
What a marvelous miracle indeed.
I love that. It's a marvelous miracle. Okay, so shout out to these ladies and thank you so much for being part of my community, core part of my community. But let's now get into the wake-up conversations this morning. Very, would I say it's an interesting story?
Yeah, it is.
It's one that we should be thankful for.
Yes. Thankful that it did not end in tears. Super Eagles were on their way from their match in, they had won their match in Lesotho. I think it was
only by the whiskers. And I'm scared. Bali.
I don't watch the match. I don't watch Super Eagles games.
So you don't watch
I
match?
I don't.
Oh wow.
Why tension?
I don't bother. I don't want to add more stress to what I'm already going through.
There's one on Tuesday, tomorrow, 5 p.m.
No, I'm not. I don't.
Tomorrow we'll know if we're going to Canada, America, or
yes.
Mexico next year.
Okay, so a quick backstory. The Super Eagles had just come from, their match in Lesotho where they won. It was a 2-1 win, and they were heading to Nigeria. They had to make a temporary stop in Angola through a value jet chartered plane. Unfortunately, it would seem that there was a crack in the, the windshield that required them to return back to Angola, and then an emergency landing. They made an emergency landing in Angola, and then ValueJet had to send another jet to pick them up and bring them back to Uyo. They've landed in Uyo in preparation for their match, the very, very defining match on Tuesday against Benin Republic that will determine if they move to the next level. We'll come to talk about the details of the match shortly, but we think that it's a miracle. It's great that we're excited that this did not become something worse than it already was.
And I have to applaud the professionalism of ValueJet.
Absolutely.
And the pilots for taking that decision at the right time, even though there will be serious cost implications for sending, how much Jet A1 fuel is, sending another plane to all the way from Lagos to
So it's not just the pilot,
Luanda,
so it's pilot and
the management.
The management.
Yes.
The entire management.
I believe this was caused by a bird strike, because what would make the wind scream to crack?
You scream to scream.
Scream.
So, some would say, because pilots, of course, you need visibility, and you could also fly blind using your navigation instruments, and say, thank God it's not downfall people that are flying. We go manage them. Because the things we've seen with downfall in Lagos, I remember Christian Pilford did a report, former CNN correspondent, and they told this driver that it was a driving school that your indicators are not working. How do you know when to? He said, don't worry, you will feel it.
It's just like when they ask Nigerians about how do you know about your recipes, when to stop? You say, oh, the ancestors just you just know when to put your Maggi,
no measuring,
you just
nothing.
Know when to stop from your seasoning. But
so I'm glad the pilot took the professional decision and didn't manage it all the way from Luanda to Lagos.
Yes. It could have ended in tears.
And it's carrying premium personnel.
Premium
on board.
Premium.
I mean, regardless of who he's carrying.
Yeah.
But yes, I do agree that it would have made headlines. We're glad that it didn't end there. So like we said, we applaud the professionalism of ValueJet, and we hope that this is thoroughly investigated to find out what may have led to this, and if it was any issue that involved any maintenance. I hope not.
I suspect it was a bird strike, but they would have mentioned it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the full picture is, so we can't necessarily.
So when they put out a statement, they said it was a technical issue, and the pilot had to follow precautionary measures, which, of course, a professional standard.
Looking for the next
one, which was in Angola, to ensure that they touch down there.
Okay. That's the press
statement
by
there.
ValueJet.
Yeah.
Says ValueJet ensures safe arrival of Super Eagles ahead of crucial qualifier. ValueJet confirms that the Super Eagles and their officials have safely arrived in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, ahead of their crucial World Cup qualifier against Benin Republic. During their flight from Polokwane, South Africa, the aircraft experienced a minor technical issue about 15 minutes into the journey. In adherence to strict safety procedures, the pilot made a precautionary return to Luanda, Angola. ValueJet immediately activated its contingency plan by dispatching a replacement aircraft, ensuring the team and officials continue their journey safely and comfortably to Uyo. As the strategic airline partner of the Super Eagles, ValueJet remains steadfast in its commitment to safety, reliability, and excellence. We are proud to stand with the team as they continue their quest for World Cup qualification against Benin Republic. ValueJet management, signed by the management. So kudos to them, and congratulations to the Super Eagles. We hope that this does not in any way affect their delivery. The Super Eagles are going to be playing against the Cheetahs on Tuesday at 5 p.m. And it's a very crucial match that will determine if they'll make it to the World Cup. They need to win with at least 2 goals to be able to qualify.
Olive, you're really invested in. I think you want to go to the World Cup.
Well,
I think
three goals,
you have
right?
plans.
Olive has plans to go to.
3 goals, right? Okay, so they need to win with at least 3 goals, and it's not just them winning. They also have to play that. Pray
for South
that
Africa
South Africa
draw or
loses
lose.
their game against Rwanda. So it's a 2-side coin. So while we are praying,
Don't worry, they will lose in Jesus' name.
Imagine
South
that
Africa
kind
will
of
lose.
prayer,
Yeah.
praying that you win.
When you
and
had
pray
the
another
destiny in
country
your
to
hands.
That's why. That's
I mean,
why.
we're
that's
very
why.
careless.
That's why we run away. That's why we run away from the statement that who does God support in sports?
Yeah.
It's a big
Exactly.
conversation.
Joe, I also wanted to bring your attention to the fact that there are no longer minnows in world football.
No.
I mean, how can you play Lesotho? The entire population of Ikeja local government is bigger than the country of Lesotho,
yes, I
and we're
agree.
playing 2-1.
2-1.
In the past, if you
And we're
heard
even
we're playing
scared.
Benin Republic, I mean, you'd be so confident that, I mean, when the
But
Mokota
now-
were playing. But now, I mean, we have to, there are no minnows anymore.
And
Everyone
you know,
has
this
stepped
could be
up.
the opportunity
Yeah.
for them to make it to the World Cup if we're not careful. They're
And
currently
Olive,
leading with 17
okay.
points.
Wow.
So if we don't put our house in order, I think we're third place with 14 points.
Start depending on,
So,
you know,
you
we
would
need
have
to win. It's a
doing
must win. It's a very
EJ.
crucial, crucial
But
game.
isn't it funny that it's the same coach that Nigeria said wasn't good enough that is taking Benin Republic to where they are going to now?
Who's their coach?
I mean,
Ghana.
looking at the likes of Grow and so
Oh, okay.
you know.
Now, and finally, just before we go on the story, Olive, I remember sharing the backstory of Benin. They weren't always cheaters. Now they've adopted the name of a wild animal.
Yeah.
Cheaters. Before they were squirrel, they were me, and they used to lose. So the management, the country said, look, what kind of, everybody is Super Eagles, elephants of Cote d'Ivoire, lions of
Lions of
wild
Cameroon.
animals. You are
Why you
choosing
using squirrel?
squirrel. So me. And they used to beat them when they were squirrels, but now they are cheaters.
They are cheaters,
can run
they're very
fast.
fast.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear what Nigerians are saying about this, and then we'll get to another interesting, sad, and very disappointing story about football. Echezon Anzeribe says, track windshield happens all the time on airplanes. Good thing is just the outer layer of the windshield. My question is, why are we conveying the team on the regional jets that can't make SA to Uyo trip non-stop? I don't think it's that they can't make SA to
said that?
Uyo. It was because they stopped to
It was,
refuel in Angola. I don't think it's that they can't make SA to Uyo non-stop. Anyway, I think that they stopped. But anyway, let's see. In all this, and it was even the crack that made them go to.
Yeah, it was
Angola.
because of it. They were headed to
They were headed to
Polokwane.
Uyo.
They had to move to.
In all
Angola
this,
as well.
kudos to Value Jets. They've handled the Super Eagles well. Sent a new plane to take them from Angola.
Yeah, kudos.
Great customer service. We must applaud them.
Absolutely.
Away from Puja, this one says, this should be investigated. South Africa. You know, people should be
To
calming
affect
down.
the boys psychologically.
We're calming down.
Maybe somebody threw a stone from Polokwane.
But I see our South African brother.
This is
Sinokule Matabata.
Sinkule.
You guys didn't pronounce it.
Sinkule.
But it's Sikulun.
Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Matabata. He said, waiting with this wahala now. Our boys got the car for their next match. Oh, I beg. South Africa government, una fit throw away small juju to help.
This person is giving South Africa with a sprinkle
I think
of
what he did
Nigeria.
was he wrote it in English
Then
and then went on Google to translate it into Nigerian
pidgin,
pidgin English. That's why you have a lot of those. Anyway, let's check out what I think that's all we're going to take on what Nigerians are saying. Let's move on to another story. Still staying with football, guys.
football.
Yes.
Now, hooliganism in Nigerian football is starting to become not just a problem, but it's starting to kill Nigerian Professional Football League. Just over the weekend, Kano Pillars fans attacked Shooting Stars players, up shooting. And then it became a chaos of some sorts, just like what you see on the screen. The reason is because there was an eventual goal that ended the game in a tie. But then take a look at what happened right here. Don't forget too that this is not the first time this is happening. We've had other instances where games were played Goals were scored in the final minute. Officials had to dress like police officers to escape. And then some players ended up being beaten black and blue. Fans had to find their way. Just look at the chaos.
I mean, this is terrible. Football is called the beautiful game for a reason.
Look at the chaos.
And the football lovers imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship. We don't have, this has just been sore and salty, as Gen Zs will say. You win some, you lose some. You do better next time. And that's why in Nigerian Professional Football League, you often find that there are very few away victories. Because
very few.
The match officials are intimidated. You have this spectacle of hooligans, this pitch invasions. This is terrible, and I hope the NFF will clamp down on this. We should be seeing point deductions. He had to take the intervention of the Nigerian police force to use their tear gas and to disperse the unruly crowd there at the Sani Abacha Stadium.
This was inside the dressing room
after the Stars player.
And this is really sad.
You went to play a football game, and the next thing you're running for your life.
And you know, the responsibility lies on the host team. The Kano Pillars here being the host team, they are playing at home. And they have attacked these people. It was 94 minutes into the game. It was 94 minutes into the game that there was an attack. No, they scored 94 minutes into the game. So it was basically them being disappointed. And that's a normal feeling, right? With football, it's a normal feeling to feel that just when you thought it was over, your opponent scores against you. But then, where is the spirit of sportsmanship? The NPFL laws provide for the host team, you know, to be responsible for the safety and the security of the team who's coming to visit, the visiting team. Unfortunately, I think these things will keep happening because there aren't strong sanctions. This time, Shooting Stars is at the receiving end. In April, Shooting Stars was the aggressor. They did against, I think it was April 60, Ikorodu, a team in Ikorodu and Ikorodu FC.
Yeah.
And they basically attacked them because, again, they were very bitter about how the game was going. What this shows is that they are very strong. There are not enough punitive measures. What we find is that oftentimes they slam a fine against them. 5 million here, 10 million there. There's not enough punitive measures until we start to treat these assaults as criminal cases. Pick up these people, take them to court, throw a few people in jail, ban them from participating. Some of the measures we've seen that the NFL has imposed against them was that one, apart from fine, saying that they will play at home without anyone, you know, any visitor. It will be like a closed game, no spectators. But that's not enough.
Closed door games.
Closed door games and fines are not enough. If we don't start treating it as a criminal offense
and point deductions,
arrest people, throw some people in prison, when they would understand the implication of this. What again is really the spirit of sportsmanship. But let's take a look at this video. We'll come back and share some more thoughts.
All right. Well, anyway, Ahmed Musa, of course, well-known, general manager of Kano Pillars, and of course, a former Super Eagles. Argentina will never forget him in a hurry. He says, I, Ahmed Musa, the general manager of Kano Pillars Football Club, extend my deepest and most sincere apologies for the unfortunate, painful, and disgraceful incident that occurred during our game against Shooting Stars Sports Club on Sunday evening. What transpired against Shooting Stars is heartbreaking, shameful, and completely unacceptable. It does not represent the true values, identity, or the proud history of Kano Pillars. This club has always stood for community, passionate respect, values that must never be overshadowed by violence or indiscipline. As a club with deep roots and loyal supporters, we expected to set an example of fairness and honor on and off the pitch. Sadly, today, we fell far short of that standard, and he went ahead to say he tenders an unreserved apology to the players, coaches, officials, and supporters of Shooting Stars Sports Club, to the match referees and league officials who were caught in this terrible situation, to the Nigeria Premier Football League Board and its partners at JTI, to the league organizers, and to every football fan across Nigeria and beyond who watched these scenes with anger, shock, and disappointment. I know how painful it must have been to witness something so damaging to our game, and I'm deeply, deeply sorry. Well, this is the general manager apologizing, and at the end he says, I assure everyone that the entire situation will actually is going to work close with the relevant authorities to identify those responsible for the shameful act, and they will face the full consequences of their actions. We do hope that that's exactly what will happen. But what are Nigerians saying about this before we go straight to our very last story concerning the violence that usually erupts in almost every, not every, so to say, but in most crucial and most important games in the Nigerian Professional Football League? Olamide the printer says, and people wonder why foreign teams won't come here to play. If we can do this to ourselves, what message are we passing to the rest of the world? Well, Olamide, I agree with you. I agree with you. Although Nigeria is not the only country that does this. If you go to Brazil, Paraguay, hey,
everybody is fighting.
Yeah, be careful. You know, banish the team from home for the season and deduct their points. They must lose all 3 points for this match. I agree with you, Gundile Kazim. That seems like a very good decision to be made.
No, I mean, maybe a few home games, but the entire season.
My brother, maybe we need to take a strong,
500,000
if you fine. Know that as a
but
fan,
you didn't take it against Shooting Stars.
And so we can't start. We can't go back.
You must start somewhere.
Going forward, we can
Somebody
then
must
say
be a scapegoat.
Exactly. We can then say going forward, if you do this, this is going to be the repercussion. If you check the fines that Kano Pillars have accumulated in the past few years, it's incredibly crazy. So you say to them that, first of all, Kano Pillars are the aggressors in this case. The Shooting Stars are the recipients. In April, Shooting Stars were the aggressors. We need to ensure that we start treating it like a criminal offense, that there are people who are charged to court until we can see that we evolve beyond just fines and maybe saying that their matches will not be viewed. Let them even be banned from the stadium. Let's start seeing point deduction. We'll continue repeating this vicious cycle. People must learn to lose fairly. When you're excited.
Olive, what team do you support in the MPFL?
I can't say. I don't support any of them for now.
Delta State doesn't have a team in the MPFL. I support Sunshine Stars of Akure. And he, being an Akwa Ibom indigene, supports Dakada FC, but they are not doing good at all.
Well,
they are nowhere to be found on the table.
I haven't been as
I dash you.
I support Sporting. I stay right now. Whoever is playing a great game at the moment.
No, Sporting Lagos is fantastic.
But I would say that again. I think we should quickly move on from this because it's a very important final.
Very important conversation.
But just to say that the takeaway from this would be that we must learn to be gracious with losing as we are with winning.
And imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship.
Exactly.
You win some, you lose some. And Olive has won so many journalistic awards.
Yeah.
I don't still beef her.
Yeah, I like that. And I like what we just did here, if you notice. To our viewers, we just started the Monday morning with a lighter story.
It's not light, so this...
No. When I mean light, it's not our usual political story. But now we are going to that.
And nobody has died.
The big story from the weekend.
Which will then be
from
one
Friday,
of our top stories today.
Which we kind of like highlighted and touched on, myself and Benga, when we spoke with Omoyele Shore on Friday. The story has got to do with the presidential pardon. Nigerians are reacting completely differently. The newly formed, would I say, no, let me not call it the newly formed. The political party, ADC, have come out to speak strongly criticizing. A presidential candidate has spoken, a lot of politicians are talking. Nigerians, as it were, also talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's pardon given to 75.
There's also reports that Alice was cut down to 147. I'm not sure. I saw that, but I know for now what we know is 175.
Nigerians are reacting differently, and reports has it that a lot of persons are starting to have a rethink of why this move and why now. Looking at, for me personally,
and if it was properly thought.
It was properly done. So I'm sure Nigerians know the story. There's no need for us to go into the story as well. What if they don't? Stick around with us because we'll still have the conversation on that story later on. But it's got to do with the fact that why now and the type of pardon that was granted to a certain kind of people in terms of research. The names are all over the place. You could check the state government website. You find them. Take, for instance, some of the names there mentioned: Oroke Michael Chibweze, age 21, sentenced 5 years, Candice Sativa in 2023. There's also a percentage done by SEC, which we're also going to have later on in the course of the show. There you have drug-related offences had over 40% of those who have been punished by the president. And then illegal mining, 34%. Financial white-collar crimes, 17%. 14% for violent capital offences. Property hijacking and maritime, 6%. Arms-related offences, 3%. Human trafficking and exploitation, 2%. And miscellaneous, 2%. There's also statements that one of the person that was also granted pardon was one who had kidnapped an SAN. Wow. Mike, who had kidnapped him while he was crying then after he was released.
I remember.
Exactly. There you have the picture there on the screen. And we don't want to go into details. Let's just get our reactions first and know what we really think about it, you know.
Okay. So we'll get into the reactions in a moment, but just to say, we're going to look deeper into the story and what the story means. There are others who have been pardoned. Names like Ken Saro-Wiwa have come up as well.
Even Heba Bakwole.
Exactly. So the question is, we all recall when Ken Saro-Wiwa was unjustly, many would argue, killed in 1995 by the Sani Abacha regime. And beyond pardoning, what acts would maybe feel like it's comforting to his family? It's one thing to pardon, to maybe clear their name, but it's another thing to have restorative justice. Should the pardon be enough to say that he has found justice?
They were also awarded posthumous national honors.
But what would that look like for their families? Would they feel like this is compensation enough? Would they feel like this is justice enough? Especially because of the way in which they were unfortunately taken out of this part of, eternity. But let's get what Nigerians are saying. Let's get Nigerians' reaction to this on X, and then we'll come back with more reactions here. Why are there disproportionate number of drug offenders on this list? Out of the 175 total, roughly 50 to 60 cases, about 30 to 35% involve drug offenses, primarily possession, dealing, or importation of substances like cannabis, cocaine, heroin. For instance, in the clemency section alone, at least 30 entries explicitly cite drugs. The reduced sentences category adds another 20 or so, including multiple cases of cocaine importation and cannabis trafficking. So these are the ones that have raised a lot of eyebrows, right? Abalaji Rasak, he says, I won't be surprised if some of the slots for the presidential pardon were sold. Nigerians don't miss opportunities to make money, no matter how absurd it may seem. Balazi.
When it rains, to use pedestrian bridge, area boys
collect
take
money
toll.
for you.
The most ridiculous ways to extort people. I don't even know how to think of it. They make money from it, even in tragedy. So it's not, I'm not going to put it beyond them.
Who compiled the names of those recommended for presidential pardon? What sort of people made that list, and what exactly are they trying to communicate to society? Presidential pardon is meant for mercy, not for murderers, terrorists, or kidnappers. Once all appeals are exhausted for violent crimes, justice should stand. When people who have abused public trust or manipulated the system are the ones being pardoned, what message does that send to citizens who are struggling to do things the right way? This, without doubt, is the worst form of presidential pardon in history. Power to forgive must have boundaries. Otherwise, justice becomes a joke, and the lives of victims mean nothing.
Thank you. Very spot on. Very spot on. Chima says about 30% of these people were into drugs. A few had what I classed as unpardonable. Summary of the unwritten message: is it that crime pays in Nigeria? Well,
and this is the reaction that people usually have when we talk about this non-kinetic approach to dealing with terrorism.
And before you make such a decision, I wonder if the presidency, if they don't sit down in groups, you should have group meetings.
Thank you.
Focus groups.
Thank you, Benga.
Let's run statistics through this. What sort of optics are we going to get?
Thank you.
Publish this. And, preempt the reaction of Nigerians. Because Nigerians are very smart people. They must talk. And what message are you sending if a huge percentage of the clemency given is going to drug-related offenses? It means you're saying, oh, okay, it's nice. And it does, on the long run, rubbish the great work of General Buba Marwa and his
team. Thank you, the
NDLEA.
Yeah. So, Benga, Maryam Sanda was also granted pardon. The lady who killed her husband in 2020, proven she was sentenced to death. She's still around, and the president says, you know what, 2020, you killed your husband. It's fine. The family of the husband, they were in complete disarray, finding out that she had murdered her husband in cold blood with a knife. And at the end of the day, the president says, don't worry, you can go. How do you want the society to look at it? Secondly, there's a lot going on with what we're seeing here. And I just want to highlight some of them. One of them is this. What was the criteria for granting pardon to these individuals? Because some of them are murderers. Some committed murder. Some just stayed in prison for just 2 years. Some stayed for just 4 years. Some who were sentenced for life had just done maybe 4 or 5 years, and they say, okay, you know what, you're good to go. Secondly, you had mentioned, what does it do for the morale of the security agencies? The NDLEA, the police, the Nigerian army, those who have put their blood, sweat, and tears to ensure that they curb crime. And all of a sudden, they see people who they had, you know,
and the general message that, you know what, there's a risk to it, but I can do it. Maybe the president will pardon me in 2, 3 years.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
I'll take my chances.
It's a conversation. I mean, I'm looking forward
and that's
to
why
that conversation later today.
That it won't be surprised if there's a slot and if it's paid for.
Right.
Sadly.
And then another thing would be optics. Elections are around the corner. And it's not, I don't think we can divorce the idea that every presidential move in this season will be interpreted as a strategic political move. So it's what is this trying to signify? What message is the presidency trying to communicate to the electorate? Again, we will revisit the conversation about the non-kinetic approach, and maybe it's time for us to take a deeper look at how we treat people who have committed offenses, not just offenses putting it lightly, people who have committed crime, how we treat
serious
criminals.
crime.
Kidnapping, for example, is a crime. And if we get to the point where we're now negotiating with terrorists in the sense of we're not using all the full force that we should use in fighting insecurity. I mean, the responsibility of any government is protecting its citizens, providing for the safety and security of citizens. And if you can't do that, and you're negotiating with these terrorists, and we're seeing a situation where you're granting them pardons, it communicates to the citizen that maybe you're not really, you don't value the citizens' lives as much
Absolutely.
as you value the ones of the terrorists. So again, it's a really dicey thing to look at.
I also want to say, was it really necessary, the Herbert Macaulay pardon? This man is resting in peace and you're invoking his name.
Well, sometimes.
No, because if you're going to do Herbert Macaulay, then you should do Michael Imodu, the former Labour leader. You should do Obafemi Awolowo. They were imprisoned at the Majesty's Broad Street Prison. That's Freedom Park. Today, there's a whole list of them. So let's go back in history and then start posthumous.
I also back in history. Even Ken Saro-Wiwa, there are those who would argue saying that it's not a pardon because if it shouldn't be a pardon, it should be more of you saying an exoneration, admitting to the guilt of his unjust killing and exonerating him.
Because if anyone, it was the British colonial government that charged Herbert Macaulay, not the federal government of Nigeria.
So the federal government, in other words,
1960. So if the government wants to do anything, they can start from 1960. Why are you going back in history? Let's go back and pardon Jaja of Okubo. That was that was exiled.
You know, for me, it's also the fact that the pardon also comes. I think, I mean, with all due respect, it reeks of disrespect at the same time, because you are pardoning great names like that. And under that, you're also pardoning drug peddlers.
So you have
it doesn't look good. I want to strongly believe that the president didn't really look at the list. I want to believe so. I just believe he trusted on his aides to do a good job. And I want to believe that there wasn't proper scrutiny, because if there was, if they, like you mentioned, Enon, and I agree, if they had sat down and say, okay, who are these names? Why? What kind of message are we going to pass on to the people? What does this do to our security architecture? Nigeria is battling insecurity. Crazy battle. And yet, we've still not been able to nip it in the bud. And here we are, we're passing a message to the security or chiefs and operatives that, listen, catch all you want to catch. If I decide to release them, I will let them go.
Very sad. Anyway, in the spirit of pardoning, I would like to request Olive to pardon me. There was a day on television before, when we had this table to cover our legs.
Yes.
I exposed you for who you are. You were wearing Crocs on set. Have you pardoned me?
I haven't pardoned
You've been pardoned.
God will forgive you.
Okay. You know what? I pardon.
Remember?
I remember. I remember. I would never forget that.
What's that color of that Crocs again?
White Crocs. The Crocs is actually behind this.
Okay, all right.
And then Benga told the whole world that I was wearing
that Crocs
Crocs.
has had more feature on live TV than portable.
Anyway, I pardon you. Let's share with you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning on Breakfast Central, former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar slams President Tinubu over what he referred to as a reckless presidential pardon. Nigeria engages USA in diplomatic talks over Christian genocide allegations. University Union declares 2 weeks strike. ASUU, of course, is in the news again, and not for great reason this time. Federal government threatens to invoke no work, no pay policy on ASUU. And there we go again. We bring you the newspaper front pages this morning. Join us for all these and more on Breakfast Central. Welcome back. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has declared a 2-week total and comprehensive warning strike across all public universities in Nigeria. This action, effective as of midnight, follows the expiration of a 14-day ultimatum issued to the federal government on September 28.
In its response to ASUU's 2-week strike declaration, the federal government on Sunday night threatened to invoke the no work, no pay policy of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In a statement issued by Folashade Boriowo, the spokesperson for the Federal Ministry of Education, the ministry accused ASUU of not being cooperative despite efforts by the government to avert the strike that was declared by the union. Now, join us this morning to unpack implications of this strike and what it means for students, parents, and the future of tertiary education in Nigeria is education and media specialist and founder, Outrage, Elvis Boniface. Thank you so much, and good morning to you, Elvis, for joining us Breakfast Central to unpack this.
Good morning, Benga, and everyone in the studio. Glad to be here.
Now, Elvis, this is a warning strike, but history tells us that these often snowballs into prolonged shutdowns. Should Nigerians brace for longer disruption?
Interesting question. Should Nigeria long for that? I think it's left for the government to answer that question, how serious they want to be with education. It was interesting listening to your conversation around the presidential pardon. So if we can be very fast to take action with issues like that, then you can imagine if we are proactive when we want to discuss education. For me, I mean, discussing ASUU strike, we need to look back in the Fourth Republic since 1999. How did we get here? Have we ever gone a year without ASUU strike? Technically, maybe just 2 years in the last 25 years. But I think if Nigeria needs to look at what the outcome of this is going to be for or against, then the foundation where ASUU is making their demands for is the 2029 FG ASUU agreement. So I think that there is a need for us to go back and say, oh, here, there is a total closure to this agreement. We're starting afresh. All the government should stop promising, because what is in front of us really do not speak well.
Okay. Well, I'm aware, just to mention that we've tried getting the ASUU president to join us this morning, Mr. Christopher Piwuna Gosin, but he's told us that he's unavoidably absent at the moment, and hopefully he will join us in the course of this conversation or in the course of our subsequent programming so he can give us more details. But we'll also bring you a little video clip of what had gone down during the meeting and the press briefing. But let me come back to you, Elvis. Very quickly, let's look at what this could actually mean for every single Nigerian student and parent, especially looking at the fact that this has been a back and forth conversation between the federal government and ASUU in itself. How do you think this can finally be concluded or could come to an end? What should be the solution?
Thank you very much. So just like I said before we parted, the biggest issue has been the 2009 agreement, the ASUU agreement. So, well, there've been other issues, but literally, since that agreement was made in January 2009, there's sort of been a new offer. There's been a lot of rejectment into this document. And if you look at it, what ASUU is asking for, because this is policy analysis, I think we need to be fair. So what ASUU is asking for, first, they are looking at funding for education, research, better remuneration, as it were. And so literally, at every point in time, government tells you they are working on different subcomponents. So for me, if we want to stem this from the root itself, we need to now see the federal government need to come to ASUU or to Nigerians and say, hey, whoever made the 2009 agreement part that has cost us this, I am canceling this, or I am providing everything that was demanded from this agreement. I mean, this agreement was made by late President Yar'Adua, and during his passing, we thought it was our best year because his successor, President Jonathan at the time, he was an academia. So we thought that that was a time where this whole thing was going to work. And when you look at education policy, and then the overriding factor that works for or against it, one of the things we have found is leadership, right? And so the problem for Global South, Africa, Nigeria, for example, has been the short-termism of ministers of education. And then for the first time in the history of any country in Nigeria, we have a minister of education that served straight for 8 good years, yet nothing can be done. So if we have an academia, a former President Jonathan that was a lecturer, we have a minister of education for 8 years that cannot fix this, I do not see light anytime soon. We should come back and say this agreement fixed or cancelled, and then let's have something brand new off the ground for us to. For me, that is the only solution. Otherwise, we are affecting children, we are affecting our students, we are affecting employers, we are affecting the university system, and of course, the development of this country, because everything is totally hinged on the functionality of the education sector, as it were.
So if I hear you correctly, you're saying that ASUU should no longer push for the implementation of the 2009 agreement. Is that correct?
I would say yes.
Okay. What are the issues within the 2009 agreement that you think is overbearing, and what suggestions would you make to ASUU if both parties have to come back to the negotiation table for a fresh agreement?
Okay. The key components of that agreement, number one was that there was going to be a 1.5 trillion naira revitalization fund for education, and that was going to run for 2 years, as it were, 2029, 2009, I don't know why I keep missing it, to 2011. And then ASUU also talked about better remuneration for their member of staffs, and then they talked about better retirement plan. I think finally they talked about university autonomy and freedom. You know, it's seven core submission, as it were, but these were the 4. And then when you looked at that, when you look at the revitalization and funding for education, we now have we have something like TED Fund from the Senate. I mean, consecutively, we've had that professors should retire by 65. The 9th Senate said no, 70 years is the best retirement. And then we also have a situation where ASUU is saying, can you, treat the federal university very right? So, for clarity and for providence, why I'm saying, let's go back to this agreement. Is it that there is no sort of sincerity from the government? Because when you look at it, this is education, and I should be able to veer to other areas of conversation, because education is a key driver. We have literally 19 out of 36 state governors who came in 2023, and they are saying the different contract that was awarded, there's been inflation, and then there's been total markup. And they are telling us that though they received much more money now from the National Treasury, but there have been 3-4x markup in project, as it were. So they have been able to take part. They've been able to make all these monetary submission. Now that's one. Can we borrow this practice and put it into education, this agreement, as it were? We are building one of our biggest infrastructure, all as the government said, from Lagos to Calabar, and then we cannot even pinpoint to what this is costing us. So if we put it into education, maybe it's going to work. And then can we just have a phased implementation of what a true autonomy is going to be? As someone that works in education, now when the Secretary of State of Education is calling university to the round table in England, is asking UCL, where I went to school, how much did you bring to the economy of Britain this year? How many international students did you bring? How many international students came to UCL? For example, can we begin to say, hey, the University of Ibadan, not up to 100 years, the University of Lagos, a 60 years university, maybe Obafemi Awolowo University, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, this is what we are giving you. We are giving you this money directly from the national budget for you to attain your full autonomy. But in this, because you are academia, you are supposed to be the harbinger of knowledge and research. Now show us what you are bringing. How are you going to run this? Because for me, it's a two-way thing. ASUU wants total autonomy, but doesn't it surprise us that our different universities cannot conduct UTME examination on their own? Court is ruling, this should be cancelled. So to answer your question summarily, let's come to the round table. This agreement is not working. Since it was first made, we've had a review in 2013. We have a review in 2017. We did a review in 2018. Post-COVID 2021, we had the longest log of meeting together to discuss this agreement, and that is the most painful. You've not been able to get Mr. Christopher. I spoke with him, and their biggest bitterness was post-COVID, most of them didn't go to work. 5 years after, their stipend for what happened to all of us during COVID has not been paid. Can that payment be made? So my professional advice as someone who works in this ecosystem, this agreement is not working. Continuous reviewing of it. The government is not sincere. ASUU also want to fight for their life. If we can come and say we are going to people that had committed so much and we are giving presidential pardon, without even showing to Nigerians what the metrics for making this decision are, can we also take up this agreement and say, ask what are you asking for? This is the money, take it. Or this agreement no longer works. Let's come to a round table and have something brand new. It can't be done. A certain president came in 29th of May without consulting all of us, and he said subsidy gone. And the price of things went 6x. Let's take that to education and make education work, because the life of 2 million Nigerians enroll in university at this time.
Okay, I want to quickly chip in. If I may interrupt you, I want you to quickly speak to another angle. That is NANS, the Nigerian Association, or National Association of Nigerian Students. Last week, they were protesting in support of Dangote refinery, and basically saying that Pengassan is just acting out of order. Does NANS have an influence in this matter? Do you think maybe they should speak louder? And have they spoken loud enough
on the very things that actually concern them and affect them?
Interesting perspective. And that brings us to the question of asking ourselves, where is the student union government, as it were? Because for me, when we stand down and discuss the slew of problems, I think that we should go back and say, where did we have this fraction? We shouldn't look at education from the Fourth Republic, 1999. the first time we started having issues in our education system, it dated back to 1985 when IBB took over. The SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, SAP, was actually what got us here. And so you have the vibrancy and then the advocacy of students has been able to produce people like the Suarez of this world. So for me, I do not even see the sincerity of ASUU in itself, because the same ASUU where you have vice chancellors, professors, as we speak, 211 universities, depending on who you are asking, 79% of that number public university. But none within this university, when you look at Nigerian 26 first-tier universities, now out of that number, 12 of them do not have vibrant student union government. And we're talking about SUG government that were able to hold the likes of IBB to ransom and say, have the right thing to be done. So yes, NANS needs to speak up a lot more. But now, who is behind NANS? I mean, what qualifies one as student, for membership of NANS? Political key players are becoming influencers in who becomes NANS president. We've had a NANS president speak against the son of the president, and he was detained. I mean, we are all media people. We know how this thing works. So simple question, yes, NANS has a voice to play because this is their future being mortgaged. But for me, if Nigerian students really feel that there should be an issue here, I am speaking from my office just close to the University of Lagos, and I do not know why a university of that status does not have student union government. It's been scrapped for multiple years. And so a vice chancellor, a professor comes and talks to a Nigerian student just like a secondary school student. So for me, let's even look at the framework that fine-tunes and elevates who or what an SUG government is, because this is how NANS works. NANS is supposed to be umbrella body of the subcomponent of the microcosm of SUG across the different universities. For most of these universities where ASUU members want the university to work, they want government to listen to them, but they don't want students to have a voice.
All right.
And the only reason why universities...
Unfortunately, Mr. Boniface, I have to interrupt because we've run out of time for this conversation, but we hope that these suggestions are reviewed and maybe the warring factions, because at this point it's giving war, the warring factions will come together back to the negotiation table, because when the two elephants fight, it is the grass, the students that suffer. Thank you for your time with us this morning.
Parents.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to break now, and when we come back, we'll move into our next conversation. Please stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, on October the 11th, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu granted presidential pardon to 175 individuals, amongst them Maryam Sanda, convicted in 2020 for the brutal murder of her husband, Biliyamin Bello. Also on the list, individuals convicted of drug trafficking, kidnapping, and corruption.
The backlash has been swift. Critics call it a betrayal of justice. Supporters say it's an act of mercy. But Nigerians are asking, who deserves mercy and at what cost to the justice system? Well, joining us for this discussion are two voices that have been and are at the seat of power who have understanding of the thought process when such pardons are given. We have with us a Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Mr. Temitope Ajayi, and spokesperson of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Mazi Paul Ibe, joins us this morning. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
Good morning.
I'm going to start off first with you, Mr. Ajayi. Can you walk us through the criteria? Because that's the major question, as it were. What's the criteria used to select 175 individuals for pardon? Was there a transparent process?
Of course, the process was the process that led to the exercise of the presidential prerogative of passing, as is constitutionally required. The process was transparent, was open, and there was a committee headed by the Attorney General of the Federation, And also that committee had members of MBA. It has a member from Christian Association of Nigeria. It has a member from the Islamic Council, and I think from the Human Rights Commission. So this committee worked for like 10 months, and the criteria are clear. One, compassion, good behavior. Don't forget that some of these people, they have served their terms, and some are still in prison. Some are on death row, which was also commuted to life sentences. So on the score of good behavior, compassion, I think essentially those are the two major criteria. And also request by either the families or by civil society organizations making specific requests to the prerogative of mercy committee, which is headed by the Attorney General of the Federation. So I think the president acted on the recommendation of that committee, and he took that recommendation to the National Council of State as required by the Constitution, and the National Council of State concurred with the recommendation, and the president granted the request. So I think it's as simple as and that straightforward.
All right, let's bring in Mazi Paul Ibe. You've heard the explanation given to us by Mr. Ajayi about the level of transparency, the institutions involved in selecting these 175 individuals. There's been criticism against the process. There's been, some critics have said that this is a political move to curry favor with certain blocks or families. But let's get your thoughts. Are you in support of this, or do you have opposition perspectives to this as well?
Thank you for having me. This is not about opposition. This is about the interest of Nigeria. And whatever may have informed, the process, the criteria, certainly the outcome is flawed in every material particular. Look at the percentage of drug offenders, for example, 29.2%. And, I think that the first thing that should have happened with this list is that the Attorney General should have honorably resigned, his job, because it is clear that, he misled him and the committee. We're not faulting the entire list, but in a situation where you have drug offenders, forming, the major component of that list, the question is what informed that? Taking into consideration the fact that, this president himself, has been associated, with drug charges in the United States, for which he forfeited $460,000. We didn't start this process. It started way back when Gani Fayemi was still alive. May he still rest. So that was there. And the optics are terrible. I mean, here is a president who has, alleged, was, forfeited money in the U.S. And the same president is here, granting a, pardon, to 29.2% of, of Nigerians in the 2025, presidential, pardon and clemency. I think the optics is, is bad. It's not about having, wielding power. Yes, the president has absolute powers, to forgive, Nigerians as he so desires. But, he needs to take into consideration, the sensitivity of Nigerians. So that power needs to be wielded with, a measure of responsibility. We don't think, that happened, in this particular case.
Thank you so much, Mazi. I'd like to bring Mr. Ajayi back into the conversation. Mr. Ajayi, for Mazi Ibe's submission, it does echo the sentiment. I would like to, from his submission, it does echo the sentiments of quite a number of Nigerians. They say the percentage of drug offences granted clemency, 40%, is quite disproportionate compared to the others. They also say it undermines the great work the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, is doing, in Mazi Ibe's words, says the optics are terrible. Does this culture of forgive and forget undermine impunity? And how do you respond to all of this?
No, that is not correct. That is not true. And I don't expect Mazi Polibi to say anything different. Of course, from opposition and trying to bring the president.
No, beyond politics
into it. First, let's be clear. The whole idea of prerogative of mercy or pardon, as constitutionally stipulated, doesn't preclude any offense. So a president has power to pardon or to grant clemency. Unless, first of all, and there are three operative words here: prerogative, pardon, mercy. Prerogative means the official power, official right, as stipulated by the Constitution for the president to grant pardon. And pardon also means that you set someone free from offenses that have been committed. So that power, that section of the Constitution that grants the president such power, doesn't preclude any offense. It means that whatever might be the crime of the individuals involved, whether murder, drug-related, corruption, whatever it is, the president has the power to grant that pardon, and the president has exercised that power. And let me say this: there is no country in the world where a president or head of state has exercised this power that there will be unanimity of opinion. There will always be controversy. As recent as January this year, President Biden granted his son, Hunter Biden, the presidential pardon. He even granted himself. And we have such history in America. Former President Clinton granted his own younger brother, Roger Clinton, pardon for drug-related offenses. President Gerald Ford granted President Richard Nixon of the famous Watergate scandal, granted him, those are corruption related, granted him pardon. So trying to make an issue about those who were convicted for drug offenses doesn't really hold water. Because in order, as long as the constitutional provision doesn't preclude any offense. So I think the point is there will never be that unanimity of opinion on whatever a government does. Government policies, government actions, government program anywhere in the world will always elicit different reactions from different people. There will be those against, there will be those in support. So what you will expect from opposition elements like Mr. Polibi, of course, who is speaking for former vice president, I'm sure if you read if you were on social media yesterday evening, you saw the tweet by the former vice president Atiku Abubakar. Of course, his spokesman is on television this morning to have the same argument. But the point is, opposition will always speak for, will always be opposition.
But beyond the politics, Mr. Ajayi, beyond the politics, for example, let's take a look at the great work NDLEA has been doing in the past few years. And when you find that a disproportionate number of drug-related offenders have been pardoned, it does something to undermine the morale of the NDLEA and also the optics. What message is the presidency trying to send to Nigerians? That's the question they are asking.
Hold on, listen to me. The work of NDA is not undermined in any shape or form. Every day, NDLA is arresting people or prosecuting people for one offense or the other that are drug or that is drug related. the fact that certain people were pardoned, and like I said, some of these beneficiaries were recommended. Some of them were actually recommended by the prison authority on the basis of good behavior. So the fact that the fact is President Tinubu doesn't know any of them. So a recommendation was made to him, the Council of State, it was approved, and pardon was granted. So that does not mean that tomorrow, if anyone goes to go and commit a drug offense, that the system or the NDLA will not prosecute or jail the fellow. But under this circumstance, people have been pardoned for offense they have committed, for which they have been convicted, and for which they have actually served the term. Some have served the term, some are still in prison. What I'm saying is, I'm making the point that some have served the term. I'm very deliberate in my choice of word. Some have served the term. Some are still in prison. They have probably spent 5, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in prison. So it's not that they were given a part at the back. So they have actually been punished for the offense. So granting them pardon now hasn't removed the fact that they committed this offense and they have been the system has sanctioned them, they have been prosecuted. And like I told you, the recommendation for some of these people actually came from the prison authority on account of good behavior. Some of them have medical issues, some of them are very sick. So they were recommended to be pardoned. So there's nothing wrong in showing mercy. And as a matter of personal conviction, I believe in second chances. All of us have a right to second chances.
All right, let's have Mazi Ibe. We'll come back to talk about, I mean, I do have some further questions for you from this, Mr. Ajayi, but let's get Mazi Ibe's reaction. You've heard Mr. Ajayi speak about the presidential pardon, saying it's within the president's prerogative to pardon whomever he deems fit, and you've heard him say that this was a fair process and that he knows none of the people who were pardoned. What do you say in reaction or in response?
Yes, thank you. We agree that it is within the purview of the president's power, to pardon. The point we are making, and we need to underscore that, is that the president needs to exercise those powers responsibly. And he needs to balance, he needs to take into consideration, the sensitivity, of Nigerians. For example, the lady in Abuja, I think Mrs. Aliru, who murdered, the husband. I mean, how do you want the family? You're opening, the wounds, of, the pains that they have felt, since their son or was murdered, by the wife. And I mean, that raises, serious questions. I mean, we are in a country where quid pro quo is a very common thing. And even the list itself drips of politics. You can see it clearly, that there are political considerations. We also don't know what else, may have informed, the choices. The buck stops on the table of the president. And what we are saying is that if the people who had that responsibility failed him, the honorable thing to do is for them to resign or for him to sack them. But here we are in a country where there are no consequences for action. And so when you enable, when by these, pardons and these, acts of clemency, nobody is saying that people should not be given a second chance. But the rule of law is foundational for any society to move forward. I mean, we should be talking about justice reform. If, for example, some of the persons who were incarcerated, I mean, the process was not, was not fair. They were unduly, charged for, were given a higher, prison terms. Then we look at the justice system. We cannot, try to solve one problem will not create multiple problems, because it is a dangerous precedent to tell people that it pays, to commit a crime like drugs, for example, and you will probably get, get a jail time and then, will get a second chance. It doesn't make any sense. That does not stop people from committing the crime. Lots of people would take, into it, considering the fact that even as we speak, the crimes of, drug-related crimes are on the increase. Yes, the NDLE is doing a fantastic job, but government also can help them to even do better, and not by, telling people to go and sin no more, and, thereby you are enabling, crime. You are telling people, that it is cool for them to go, and commit a drug-related or, offenses, and down the line, they will get pardon or get clemency, from the president. So, like I said, it's not about, position or being a position. Yes, I'm a Nigerian citizen, irrespective of the fact that I speak for, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. But on this matter, my privileges, of, as a citizen, this also, encourages me, to be able to speak truth to power. And
right.
That's what we're saying is that on this matter, the president got it wrong.
Okay, we'll come back to still get some more reactions to this story. The question is, what is the position regarding the presidential pardon for those who are just tuning in? We're going on a very quick break and we'll be back in a few seconds to continue the conversation. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the conversation, gentlemen. We're still speaking with Mr. Temitope Ajayi, who is Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Mazi Polibe, who is spokesperson to former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And we're still x-raying the presidential pardon that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu granted to a number of Nigerians who have been in prison, some having served their sentence or serving their sentence. Mazi, no, I'll come to Mr. Ajayi. I want to also touch on some of the people who were listed there, people who maybe have passed, the likes of Herbert Macaulay, the likes of Ken Saro-Wiwa. Some of the arguments that we've seen against these pardons would be that it's in some measure admitting guilt, and that in the case of the Ogoni 9, for example, there was an unjust killing of these ones. So that maybe what should have been said was a complete exoneration as opposed to a pardon, which in some measure admits guilt, as there wasn't a guilt. It's not a situation of them being, quote unquote, guilty. How do you respond to that? And this is to Mr. Ajayi.
You want Mazi to respond?
No, I wanted you to respond to that, and I'll come back to Mazi B.
Well, like I said earlier, a presidential pardon means that whatever offense someone has been convicted for, whether rightly or unjustly, by virtue of a pardon, it means that person has been, that guilt had been, whether it is just or unjust, like the case of the Ogoni 9, Saro-Wiwa and his compatriots. It means that once there is a pardon, it means that they have been relieved of anybody. So it means that offense that for which they were convicted and murdered for had been totally removed. So whether you call it exoneration or pardon, it's a matter of semantics. It's the same thing. It means that that offense never happened as far as the law is concerned. So don't forget that there are some people, when they are convicted, if they are politically exposed person, they will say, by law, if you are convicted of any crime, you cannot run for any office again, either in Nigeria and in some other countries, for example. But once you have a pardon, it means your slate is clean. It's wiped off clean. So you are like you are reformatted. You are reformatted. You are made whole, so you can live your life fully and afresh again, hoping that you won't go back to that sin you committed before. That is if you were not unjustly convicted or incarcerated. Even if you actually deserve the offense for which you were convicted, once you get a presidential pardon, it also means that your slate is clean. So whether it is Ogunina or to anyone, especially for the Ogunina, which is a strictly political matter, of course, we all know the story of the environmental litigation and the struggle of in Ogoni land, and the struggle of Cancer River.
All right.
So their own was political. So whether you call it pardon and exoneration, it's a matter of semantics.
Okay, I'm going to maybe bring in Mazibi. And why I'm asking this question, why I think it's important for us to have this conversation, is because if the federal government saw it as very important to, change the course of history regarding people who have passed, the argument would be maybe go about it the right way. You go to Japan, for example, the comfort women who were forced into sexual slavery during the Second World War. First of all, the government argued for the longest time that it wasn't true. They denied this. After a while, there was an official apology. So if we're trying to right some wrongs that were done in the past by saying we're giving them a clean slate, shouldn't that maybe come with the government saying this is wrongful, and we apologize on behalf of the government? Because they have family members, they have children, grandchildren, who still live with the repercussion or the implication of what happened to these people. But Mazi Polibe, let's get your thoughts on this as well. Or do you think it's a non-issue?
Well, let me speak, related to that. I don't want to be dragged, because, like I said that the pardon, was dripping with, politics, But let's look at, the president, as the father and the whole rest of us, as the, members of, that family and children. And if you have a responsibility, you have the prerogative, you have the absolute powers to discipline your children, for example. There's a responsibility attached to that. It doesn't mean that you must flog your child to the point that they will slump, and die. And so when that happens, it means that you have exceeded, the mandate, of your power. And that's the point that we're trying to stress. The gentleman there was talking about in other lands. In whatever land it is, power must be exercised, with the responsibility in mind. This was not. There were other considerations of politics, and like I said, the optics, about the president who himself, is enmeshed in drug-related, charges for which he forfeited $460,000 in the United States. It's yet to go away since 1999, when all of these things were, unveiled, by the late Gani Farid. And let me also tell the forgery is also going to be in the. So we just had the case, the alleged, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, who, resigned. He should have been sacked. And like I said, there are no consequences for actions in this country, and that is why we keep having an upsurge of some of these, crimes. Forgery will also, join that maybe by the next year when they're going to be, pardoning people and the rest of it. You will probably see a long list of people who have, forged because we have refused to settle the issue. By the way, the president himself, again, is also allegedly, involved in a forgery, which is yet to be a settled, issue. So people need to be punished for every crime to be able to dissuade others, from traveling the same, road.
All right, Mr. Polibe, you've highlighted some of the anomalies, as we like to bottle it up in terms of your analysis on what this decision will cause. But let me go back to Mr. Ajayi. Mr. Ajayi, if the president was looking at this list, can you confirm to us that the president This list was sent to him. It was approved by him because fellow critics, in line with those who are criticizing online, are saying that possibly the president may not have taken time to look at the entire list. That's one. Just a two-part question because we're almost running out of time. My second question is, how is it that a name that has been so touted wasn't added to the list, Nnamdi Kanu? Or doesn't he deserve pardon as well? That's another question we'd like you to answer.
Okay, first, before I respond to your question, I think it's important to respond to the first claim by Mr. Ibe. The president never faced any charges of drug-related matter anywhere in the world, whether in US or Russia or Nigeria or any country, anywhere in the world. The president never faced any drug charges anywhere in the world. So I think it's important to establish that fact. And on the issue of whether the president saw the list, don't forget that the president is the chairman of the Council of State. He convened the meeting. He's the one with the convening power to convene the Council of State meeting. And it was an agenda. So how do you expect that somebody who convened a meeting, who presided over a meeting, and made the presentation and presented a memo and set the agenda of a meeting that he presided over? Why will you even consider that you wouldn't have seen the list? I think that is a bit preposterous for you to even suggest that the president didn't see the list. For me, that doesn't make sense. It's like somebody saying you presided over a meeting where you presented a memo and you led the discussion, so you didn't see what you presented at that meeting? I think, please, I think there are other questions that shouldn't be asked.
Mr. Jai, that question is asked, Mr. Jai, because you also said something here. You said some of the people that were pardoned had already served 10 years. But on the list, some people served only 3 years. I don't know if you saw it too.
But that is what I said is relevant to the question you asked.
Yes,
that question you asked doesn't make sense.
I don't think you need to get agitated over it, because my question is presumed based on your statement that social persons have served a certain amount of years.
The question you asked doesn't make sense. Okay, it's like somebody saying you are reading a piece of story at your news bulletin and you have never read it before you came on here.
I would prove to that person that, Mr. Jai, it's a question. It's a question. And you have the right to either answer. Good. So you've answered. Now, can you...
doesn't make sense.
Mr. Jai,
you don't need to get agitated over it. Just relax.
We're
here together.
There's other question you shouldn't come on here to come and ask.
Mr. Jai, Nigerians have the right. Mr. Jai, Nigerians have the right to ask questions.
They are very, very unbecoming.
Mr. Jai, Nigerians have the right to ask questions. And I would rephrase my statement. I said there are questions people are asking. And part of those questions was, are you sure the president had seen this? It's only right for you to clear it here on national TV that yes, the president had seen it, he went through it. No need to get angry over it, Mr. Jai. It's a question, not by me, but of course by a concession, very Nigerians as a whole, some of them. You have a cross-section of Nigerians who would ask questions.
You are not here, it's not your job to come and parody on a phone question on here.
It's my job to ask the question.
Gentlemen, just to, Mr. Jai, I would like to continue with the conversation. Mr. Jai, would like to continue with the conversation, please.
Please, let's go ahead with the conversation.
Let's still speak to another angle of the interview, Mr. Jai.
And the court has ruled that he has a case to answer and he should open his defense. I think that settles that.
Okay.
I think Mr. Polibe has a response to that.
All right, Mazi Polibe,
please, let me respond to this, please. I hope we are not having another case of Engineer David Umahi, the professor in practice. I think anybody that presents himself for an interview, the job of the journalist, Mr. Ajayi, I believe you're a journalist. I am one on sabbatical.
Absolutely.
The job of a journalist is to ask the questions. The job of the guest is to answer those questions. You cannot answer and dictate what the questions will be.
I have answered the question.
I mean, but again, that is the impunity, and the irresponsibility that has attained, officials.
Mr. Ajayi, you had your time. Mr. Ajayi, you had your time to speak. Is it okay to please ask that Mr. Paulibe speaks as well?
It's about accountability. Nobody wants to be accountable. Nobody wants to.
What do you mean by nobody wants to be accountable? It's like someone asking you if you saw a report. No, come on. That's a question that shouldn't be asked.
All right, Mr. Ajayi, if we may please ask. You had your turn to speak, and you were
responsibilities on behalf of Nigerians to hold you accountable. That's what we are saying. These are the times that we are living in. Irresponsible government. Irresponsible officials, people who don't want to be held accountable. They come on air and they harass and they intimidate people. The president has absolute power to free people, to grant pardon and clemency. The journalist has powers to ask questions. And you're having an exception to questions. Is it like going to an exam and you want a particular question to be asked? You want an expo to the exams. Maybe there are places where they go to and they are giving advanced copies of the question they are going to ask them. But unfortunately, that is not the case here. And I think that I want to use this opportunity to say to public officials and elected officials that please, accountability is part of it is paramount in what they do. They must be held accountable.
All right. Gentlemen, it's been quite a heated conversation. But again, just to reiterate, the goal is not to come here and engage in a fight. It's to ask the necessary questions that Nigerians need to know. You had mentioned earlier, Mr. Ajayi, that the president knows nobody on the list. He had no knowledge of, he doesn't know them personally, right? So I think that it's important that we establish, especially because we understand that the president can't attend to everything at the same time. You've mentioned that the committee recommended the list to him. We can assume that, some people can assume in some cases that, this list was recommended to him. He trusted the judgment of the committee that recommended the list to him and then appended his signature to approve it. So I don't think that is completely out of place to ask.
We can't make assumptions.
I'm sure even Mr. Ajayi in his office, there are certain things he can't handle, but he has a team he trusts. So when they look at it, he says, did he do A and B? It's fine. You know what? I trust you guys. Let's go.
Absolutely.
So it's only right that Nigerians just ask, please, because some Nigerians are feeling different about it and say, are you sure? They just need some form of assurance that, oh, yes, he did. And that's all.
Right. But let's move the conversation and get your response, Mr. Ajayi, to those who think that this is a political strategy. 2027 is around the corner. There have been, again, those who think that this action might be an undercover political strategy that may be aimed at currying favors from certain quarters or just basically positioning the president in a certain light ahead of the elections. What's your response to that?
Political advantage will the president derive from that list? Please, is there anyone on that list that is a political rainmaker or who can make the president win an election or lose an election? I think we shouldn't reduce everything to politics or to politicking. The list was approved, recommended, and presented to Council of State. Don't forget that the Council of State has all 36 state governors as members, retired Chief Justice of Nigeria as members, former head of state or president as members, and the Speaker and the Speaker of the House of Representatives and Senate President as members. So this list came to the council, thoroughly debated and considered before it was approved. And we still have benefit of 3 former Chief Justices of Nigeria that are still alive, who are still members of Council of State, who made contribution. So if they saw anything untoward about the list, I'm sure they would have advised the president. Don't forget that, again, the Council of State is an advisory body, though a constitutionally created organ of government. So I don't think that the president has no political advantage to derive from approving the list. He did so on a compassionate ground. And like I said, some of these people have terminal ailments. Some of them are sick. Some of them have different reasons why they were recommended for pardon or for clemency, as the case may be. So, again, there is no political motive behind it. It was done on the compassionate ground.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ajayi. Final question to you, Mazi Ibe. We've had quite an interesting conversation here, this morning on this subject. Now, from your vantage point, Mr. Ajayi says there's a committee, it's not absolute power to the president, it's not to just grant this prerogative of mercy. From your vantage point, how can we reform the pardon process to ensure it serves justice and rehabilitation and not just privilege or political expediency?
Well, the buck stops on the table of the president, not on the Council of State. So the president, takes both the credit and the debit. The committee did not do a good job. And that's why we're trying to insulate the president. But somebody must take responsibility. Well, because clearly, like I said, we're not faulting the entire list. But some of the lists, maybe they need to have a review of this list. And possibly unpardon some of the persons that have been pardoned. And you have to, start by looking at the quality. It's about garbage in and garbage out. You have to look at the quality, of the persons in such a committee. It's not enough to say that 3 former justices, on the Council of State and all of that. At most, possibly, maybe that meeting took place maybe within 3 hours. Is 3 hours enough for them to review, to subject it to distillation, the kind of analysis that we have, that we have done. We have come to look at it. The percentage, did they know? Were they given information about the percentage of drug offenders, to illegal, minors, which is also another, issue that I didn't even, bother to talk about because I don't even understand, why illegal, minors should be number 2, after, drug, dealers. In all, we must never, the president must never take any action that seeks to enable, criminality. What will be recommended? Well, more importantly, it's not even a pardon. It's about justice. There needs to be a total overhaul, of all of the system. Because, this is a system, where a lot of, anything goes. We need to remove all of those factors that enable the guilty, the innocent to be charged guilty, right, and those who are guilty to walk away, because they know somebody, they are connected, they're related, associated with somebody in the system. All of those factors need to be, removed, so that at the end of the ultimately, when somebody, goes through the judicial, judicial process, through trial and all of that, and you end up, in jail, you know clearly that you had a free and fair trial, and not like I said, the situation, where the innocent, are judged, guilty. And we need to part ways and, forge forward and overhaul, our entire, judicial.
Well, unfortunately, Mazi Polibe, we can only speculate as to the correctness of this, or our thoughts about the moral correctness of this. Unfortunately, I do not see the possibility of it being undone once it's been given legally, once this has been gazetted. And maybe the only thing would be for us to discuss about future pardons and how we can ensure that it represents the hearts and the feelings of the majority of Nigerians. It's been quite an interesting conversation. Mr. Timotokwe Ajayi, thank you for joining us this morning. Mazi Paul Ibe, thank you for joining us this morning. I will look forward to future discussions with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah. We'll go on a break now. When we come back, Breakfast Central continues. Please stay with us. The federal government has initiated diplomatic talks with the United States following allegations by American lawmakers accusing Nigeria of state-backed persecution of Christians. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed that it has reached out to the U.S. government to reject claims contained in a new bill sponsored by Texas Senator Ted Cruz titled the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025. The bill seeks to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern and impose sanctions including visa bans and asset freezes on Nigerian officials allegedly complicit in religious persecution.
Senator Ted Cruz, supported by other Republican lawmakers, claimed that over 52,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria since 2009 and accused the Nigerian government of complicity through weak enforcement and blasphemy laws. The lawmakers are also pushing for restrictions on U.S. aid and arms sales until Nigeria demonstrates compliance with religious freedom standards. Responding, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Kim Miebi Ebienfa said Nigeria has engaged the United States through diplomatic missions in Washington and Atlanta, providing a detailed report commissioned by Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugar to counter what it describes as misrepresentations. He emphasized that violence in Nigeria affects all groups and is not targeted at any religion. Join us this morning for this very important conversation is former Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshe. One welcome to you and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you and good morning.
Now, Ambassador Keshe, how serious are the implications of this proposed U.S. Senate bill on Nigeria-U.S. relations now that the spotlight is on Nigeria?
Well, look, it's very serious, particularly because this is being initiated by senators in the House, and if it goes through the House, it certainly will go through it will go straight to the president for implementation, and the president will sign off for it. So what we have, the action that the Nigerian government has initiated it's the right thing that to be done, and they should have actually done this rather than some of the noisy defense they were making. Look, I've always said this, whether people like to hear it or not. The truth of the matter is that we do not live in isolation. We live in a global village where news travel, faster than ever before in our lifetime. And so you cannot you cannot sit down here in Nigeria and be saying that those in Washington do not know what they are saying or what they are talking about. But believe it or not, they probably know more than you do know. And they listen to news, they get information from people, particularly those who are affected. So denying this thing is not the right way to go. It's just as they have done, decide to engage the United States. And by the way, this is not the first time we are close to being declared a country of concern. When I was Permanent Secretary, I think 2009, we had under, I think Secretary Clinton was the Secretary of State then. We had the same problem. We heard that Nigeria a recommendation was going to be made for Nigeria to be declared a country of concern. Fortunately, at the time I got that news, I was set to travel to Washington, and I called that mission that, look, the group that made the recommendation, I'm trying to remember their name now, there was a committee attached to the State Department. The group that made the recommendation, I asked the embassy that, look, I'm coming, will they be ready for a meeting with me to find out exactly why they want to declare us a country of concern, And I got a message back just before I left the country that, yes, they were prepared to meet with me. And interestingly enough, for you to understand the importance they attach to this issue, one of the members lived in California. He flew from California to Washington. It's about 10 hours flights. He flew to attend a 1 hour, 30 minutes meeting with a team from Nigeria to resolve this issue. And I made a case. And their concern was very simple. And I undertake to look into their concern and re-invited them back to Nigeria. And they came back to Nigeria and everything went well. And that was where that matter ended. So I'm glad that the federal government is negotiating with, with the United States, and they're out there to tell their own side of the story and persuade, But even more significantly is the fact that we need to pay attention, and this has been said by many people. It's not just a question of having an ambassador in Washington as of today. We also need to strengthen our missions. When you go to Washington and take a look at the diplomatic list, you will see that some countries devote about 25 officers to the Congress, while Nigeria devotes 1 officer to the Congress. How on earth can 1 officer cover the Senate and the Congress? It's actually impossible to do a good job. So I sincerely hope that every time we say this is a lesson, but we don't appear to learn anything from the lessons. But I hope that the negotiations going on with Washington, or the talks with Washington, would work out well and will not be declared a country of concern.
All right. The Nigerian House of Reps plans a formal diplomatic protest, and they are proposing a joint Nigeria-US fact-finding mission on religious freedom. What do you make of this, and what would that protest
look. Listen, the House of Assembly should please stay out of this completely and allow the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to do its job. They have no experience in this matter. They just want to undertake a trip. And I'll say it sincerely, they should stay out of this and allow the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to do its job. As I said, we've gone through this before. The ministry is sufficiently experienced, and the House of Assembly should not be looking for every opportunity to travel and to go and engage in issues that
Ambassador
they practically
Keshi,
have no experience to deal with.
Ambassador Keshi, they might argue that since this has drawn the attention of the American legislature through Senator Ted Cruz, that maybe interfacing from parliamentary to parliamentary level could suffice.
I maintain that this is not their responsibility. That is why we have missions all over the world. Let them allow the missions to deal with this. Let them allow the Minister of Foreign Affairs to deal with this. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is sufficiently experienced enough to deal with this issue. Okay? In fact, what they should be doing is working with the president to send ambassadors, working with the president to provide funding for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and for the missions to enable them to do their job, not for them to travel. Look, if you know what these guys do when they travel, if you know what they do when they travel, so for goodness sake, yeah, if they want to travel, they can go. It's their prerogative. They have the funding to do that. This is why it's so ironic. Our officials have funding to travel all over the world, but they don't have funding to fund the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and its missions that are right on the ground to do the job. So I will appeal to them, let them stay out of it for the time being and allow the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the missions in Washington to do their job. They know what to do. Okay. And they can engage them. As I said to you, if in 2029 we resolve this within, look, I got that information, as I said, as I was about to set out for Washington for another meeting. And this was the ministry, the embassy got the information and then transmitted it to headquarters and resolved it with a matter of 3-4 days. So for goodness sake, let them live, let them allow. It's not too much of a serious issue to engage these people and tell our story or tell our own side of the story. We've already made publication. We've already issued press releases. All we need to do is face-to-face conversation. And for your information, also, these guys might not be able to do quite a number of things. For one reason, Washington also worked with a number of consultants, lobbyists. How do you think that this became an interest to members of the Congress and members of the House who have never visited Nigeria? How do you think? Think for a second. How did this become of interest to members of the Congress who have never visited Nigeria, who probably can't identify Nigeria on the world map? It's because those involved, those who raised the issue with them, probably used lobbyists to push the issue forward. So for guys in the National Assembly saying that they are going to no.
So maybe, I mean, just to clarify that, it says the House has directed its Foreign Affairs Committee, Security and Intelligence, Interior Information, etc., in conjunction with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Nigeria's embassy in Washington, D.C., to file a formal diplomatic protest with the sponsors of the bill and relevant U.S. congressional committees.
Let me ask you a question to ask them. Let me ask you a question to ask them. Please, could you ask those guys in the House if they have called the Minister of Foreign Affairs to brief them extensively on the issue before they took that decision?
Well, I'm sure that's a question. I'm sure that's a question we're going to ask them. But also,
I work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yes, look, I work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for many years. I engaged this same house, you know, not only when I was a permanent secretary, even when I was national coordinator for the diaspora affairs. I engaged the house, so I know the house very well. I know how they work. And I'm asking you, have they engaged, have they invited the foreign minister to brief them before they took that decision? How did they arrive at that decision without the involvement of the Minister of Foreign Affairs? Okay. So please ask them. If they said they have briefed them, so I read what I said, if they have been briefed by the ministry. Okay, Ambassador, you don't just sit down and take, look, this is where we talk of cooperation and coordination, you know, in the management of state affairs. When you get such an information, the first thing you do is you invite the Minister of Foreign Affairs to come and brief us about the issue, and that briefing will constitute the basis for your recommendations or for your decisions. All right. If the ministry has not briefed you, and this is the decision you have had, okay, whatever they want to do, they are the Lord and Master of Nigeria today, so they are free to do whatever they want to do.
All right. Also, maybe
but again, I maintain that the Minister of Foreign Affairs can resolve this without anybody, you know, getting involved and saying they want to engage Parliament to Parliament. For goodness' sake.
All right. You were talking about the
ministry to try his best.
You're talking about the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and you know the report is that he, in his insecurity report, that Yusuf Toga has not admitted to the killing of Christians. Is that something that maybe should have been spoken to? As you know, we're seeing here that there have been claims, rejected claims that Christians in Nigeria are being targeted. Is that an issue that should actually be probed and looked into?
You know, sometimes the way government communicates its information creates unnecessary problem for government itself. Look, I cannot, if you ask the Catholic Church, for example, they provide you, you know, an empirical evidence of how many Catholic priests, you know, have been killed, you know, all over this country to start with. So where you have evidence like this, it's not a question of denying that no, it's not happening, or making this argument that, oh, many people are being killed. No, you just go to marshal your argument with facts and figures and present to them. And not just to deny, yes, Christians are being killed, there's no doubt, but the truth of the matter also remains that it is not Christians alone that are being killed. In some of the places that the bandits have, look, bandits do not identify Christians when they hijack a bus. They don't. So Christians and Muslims are being killed. But you see, the larger argument to be made, which I am not sure they want to make, is the general insecurity in Nigeria that has led to this perpetual killing of innocent citizens in the country. And if there's anything, issues like this makes it even more imperative for us to end this cycle of violence and insecurity in Nigeria. There is no way anybody can justify the fact that we've been fighting insecurity for 15 years. We are not at war, but we are so insecure that technically we are at war.
Okay, Ambassador Juke, let me just get your comments on this. Lack of ambassadorial appointments. 3 years into this administration, no, 2 years plus, I beg your pardon, into administration, and no one has been appointed so far so good. Do you think this in any way also has an effect into this particular story that the U.S. is interested in? Because you've talked about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. If there was also had ambassadors or who would also gather together, shed more light into this situation, looking at the experiences, do you think this would have in any way helped? That's one. And because we're also out of time. Go on. Yeah, go ahead. Let me allow you to react to that question first.
Ambassador has a wider reach and a wider responsibility. And in some of these major countries of the world, it's even sometimes very difficult for ambassadors of small countries to have access to that high, office. So you can imagine what it is like not to even have an ambassador at all. Look, Professor Akinyemi told a story when he was Director General of NIA. He led a team to Moscow. It was that the organization they went to meet with in Moscow, had arranged a kind of summit or whatever it was that which gave them the opportunity at that time to see the president. I think it was Brezhnev or somebody at that time. So when they got to Moscow, the ambassador at that time pleaded to be part of that thing because he's been in the country for about 3 years. He's never set his eyes on or met, the chairman of the Politburo, which was then the leading person in the Soviet Union in those days.
All right.
In Washington, it's even worse. All ambassadors deal with the Department of African Affairs, in the State Department. Now, so a situation where you find out that in some countries, ambassadors even have challenges as a result of the protocol. You are now having a situation where you do not even have ambassadors at all. So the reach of the Chargé d'Affaires becomes even more limited, which makes it imperative that, look, we need to find a way to put ambassadors back to our missions.
And we completely agree with you, Ambassador Joe Keshi. Thank you for joining us this morning on this conversation. We look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
We're going to break now, and when we come back, the conversations take a different turn. Please stay with us.
Hello, welcome back to Breakfast Central from that very short break, and it's time for us to bring back, no, not bring back, yes, technically bringing back Mr. Habib Aruna, who's a veteran journalist and one who we are always very glad to have help us review the newspaper headlines. One welcome to you, sir, and thank you so much for gracing us with your presence this Monday morning. You could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us at this time. So we value your contribution, and the nation appreciates.
Thank you very much. We'll give you your award.
I mean, your name wasn't on the National Honors List, but we honor you. Okay, so I hope you would appreciate our honor. Let's get straight to it. Let's start with the Punch newspapers. The headline says, ASUU rejects FG's proposal. Begin 2-week strike today. This strike is a warning strike. And the unions, the writer says, union stops government's peace talks over unpaid arrears. Others insist on industrial action. Federal government is also firing back, saying no work, no pay. And NANS commence moves to resolve lingering crisis. That's the National Association of Nigerian Students that were protesting for
Dangote last week.
Dangote against Pengassan. Now they have come back to
their
own constituency like very dark man.
Unfortunate.
Okay.
Okay. And Edun recovering, no plans for replacement, says the presidency, the coordinating Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale, over the weekend. There were reports there he was very ill. And the presidency has come out to issue a statement. It says he's recovering and there's no plan for his replacement, and that the CBN governor, Mr. Yemi Cardoso, will represent him in high-level talks and meetings. Naira hits 10 good news. Naira hits 10-month high on strong FX inflows. I believe the remittances are coming in from different parts of the world. We are preparing for 30 December, but I will celebrate when it's 100 Naira to $1.
Okay. I like how you are still in fancy La La Land. But take a story that I think that last conversation we had, Tinubu under fire over presidential pardon for drug offenders. Let's get Mr. Arono's thoughts. First of all, do you know anyone on the presidential pardon list?
My preference.
No, do you know anybody on the list?
No.
It doesn't associate with such. What kind of
I
person?
just look like every other Nigerians.
Okay.
And first of all, the president has the power, constitutional powers, to pardon anybody, whether you like it or not.
That's not, I don't think that's in doubt.
No. Yes, those are facts, But at the same time, those pardons should be in line with the mood of the country.
You should read the room.
There are people that have been forgotten. There are people that are the president's friends. There are people that are political associates. We say, Mr. President, please, I have so person, please put him or her on your list. It's a normal thing, But when it's becoming increasingly questionable, increasingly criticized, when that becomes a national debate, then to me,
But sometimes they can't preempt this reaction until the statement is
but
out.
when you pardon that lady that killed her husband, people are bound to raise questions. They're bound to raise questions. And I think the president should have been more circumspect for putting the name of that woman on the list.
But there's a committee.
Let us serve for some time.
That's Maryam Sanda,
That was the committee too, when Nanju was appointed the minister, Mr. Benga. Yes, that was the committee. So the mistakes happen. But when it's generating this kind of controversy, in my view,
Are we being fair to Mr. President?
There is need for a revisit.
He's inundated with so many files and so many things on the
reason given was
You want
that-
him to scrutinize every
The
single
reason
name
given was
on
that the lady, children are still young, they need their mother, and blah, blah, blah. There are some names that are commendable about Macaulay. Because we were and other people that to me did not commit any crime. Vaxa.
Mama
Vaxa, no, the family has suffered enough. Let them get that this kind of
closure.
So, but this lady, I'm not comfortable with it.
So these people that I have mentioned, which is a question that I had asked Mr. Ajayi, Kensariwa and the likes who were not the offenders. There was a crime committed against them. They were killed unjustly. Does a presidential pardon suffice? Is it enough? Or should there be some form of an apology? Is that justice enough for the family?
No, it's enough. Apologize for who? President Tinubu is not the one that killed the...
No, apologizing on behalf of the federal government.
That is not...
Because...
Because it will be an overreach. You are overstretching it.
It's the government of Nigeria.
Award, to me, it's more than an apology. A national award, a national pardon. It's on record.
Pardon is saying that if you come now and you say that you are pardoning me, it's establishing that I have done something wrong. Yes. I am guilty. So there is an implication of guilt, I'm assuming. So, no, I would imagine that that's an implication of guilt. So if we're saying that we're pardoning them, is that not in some way admitting to their guilt?
I would not think so. I think the government is trying to say, okay, let's take this thing behind us and let's move on. Let's compensate the family with this kind of pardon. That's what they are doing. And Farouk Lawan, to me, that's political. How can you pardon Farouk Lawan? That's political. I don't want to dive into it, But I think the president has the power, as I said, to do this, whether it is good or bad. And when it generates this kind of controversy and national debate, in my view, some of these things can be revisited. So that
but there's nothing they can do about it. Once the pardon has been issued, it has been issued. Legally they can't pardon the pardon.
I mean, Mr. Mazi Kenibe says maybe you should pardon.
It's not possible legally. Once it's been gazetted, there's nothing that can be done about it. So it's just maybe to prevent for future occurrences where there's a pardon that needs to be granted in the future to ensure that.
And the story on the front page of Punch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
which many papers carried on their front page.
Yeah.
Prominently. Some carried it that ASUU reject FG's proposal. Begin 2-week strike, warning strike. And others are saying that the rule of no work, no pay will be enforced.
Yes.
To go ahead with the action. You see, this thing has been on ground for long. ASUU gave the government a warning that when we embark on strike, if our grievances are not met, you know, this thing has been going on for long. And we'll be happy that they've not been strike about 3 or 4 years now. But now that they gave the government enough time, you know, the government did not react on time, in my view. The government should have reached out to us that these are the issues we have on the table, these are the things that we can do for now. Because government cannot deal with us in isolation. Yeah. In fairness to government, we have ASUU, we have NASU, and there are many organizations within the system that we have to be dealt with holistically. So, but not reaching out to them, the public believe that the government is not doing enough, and ASUU also believe that, as we are saying, that the government have enough resources to take care of their grievances.
We had a guest earlier who was of the opinion that we should scrap that 2009 agreement and that they should come and renegotiate fresh terms. Do you think that would be a possible solution?
That may not be a bad idea. It may not be a bad idea.
Because 2025,
we need to satisfy some of their demands. University autonomy. They are to take on pay. There are some of the research grants and the rest. You know, these are the things they need to. And for the government, I'm not comfortable when the government said they will enforce the no work, no pay rules. I'm not comfortable with that.
I mean, but the government also has a right to. Of course, you can't abuse industrial action.
But in this game, ASUU has the support of the public. People believe that ASUU has a just cause. You know, and
now some people also think ASUU is just fighting for their pockets.
Minister of Education tried best. They told them that no, the government, the presidency should come and negotiate with you. Even appeal to them. Appeal to them that please, for now, shift this thing, let's negotiate. But I think it's a warning strike. I think within the next 2 weeks, there will be a convergence of it. Yes, they will resolve it.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Let's go to the paper very quickly. I do understand that we have more stories on the Punch, but I'd like us to go to.
Oh wow, there's a big one on the Punch. Fubara retains 8 commissioners.
Yes.
Prepare nominees.
Prepares fresh nominees list. Fubara retains 8 commissioners. Prepares fresh nominees list. Fubara.
You don't want.
He retains 8 commissioners.
8 commissioners.
Remember, there was a report of him firing all the commissioners.
And the question, since his return from suspension, is this commissioners list now and the decisions he make has made Nigerians so skeptical. They are asking, is this Fubara or Fubara? Who is making this decision? Is it emergency rule Fubara or post-emergency rule Fubara?
At times, when journalists speak like this, they don't understand the dynamics of power. It's very easy to wear, to dress like this, look beautiful, and talk on TV. But the thing inside,
the inner workings,
could have been there.
No, we understand, but some things we cannot say.
For 4 years, I was up there, I understand these intricacies and the challenge they are facing. If Fubara before the emergency rule is on Fubara after the emergency rule, it cannot be.
Just like Joe said, he was similar like he was his full self, but now he's just simply same.
That will give and take. As I said, he's the one now on the hot seat. You just have to abide with the terms of agreement, or anything can happen. They put fire there again, it will burn.
So we have an abridged version of.
We have to satisfy many interests. Last weekend, Fubara and most of the stakeholders and we met, and they agree. So that, to me, that's the point of departure. I'm still working on it. We must make the state stable from the state. The man is still in charge. He's the governor of the state. Conditionally, he's the governor of the state, but he must do some things that's of interest to move on.
Now, somebody that has been in this political, you've been in the corridors of power, you understand the workings of government. Next year, once we get into 2026, it will be full-blown political campaign season. And he's lost 6 months of his governorship. if you could advise him, would you advise him to sit for a second term, or he should just, you know?
No, naturally, Fubara is a political animal. He'll be ambitious.
Man is a political animal.
He'll be ambitious, you know, automatically. But at the same time, by next year, he'll be a lame duck. He'll be a lame duck. And if you know the peculiarities, nature and characters of Nigerian politics.
So you think the people you offended has not forgiven him
gentleman that challenged
completely?
The governor of Ekiti State was disqualified by the party. The party disqualified him. Just like that, the guy was disqualified. So the Nigerian institutions are not independent yet of the levels of power.
Do you think the people he offended have forgiven him completely?
And that's why he's playing along with them. If going to play along with them, they forgive him finally.
Okay.
Yes, but the governor of Enugu State is to defect to APC. That of Enugu, that of Bayelsa, we are hearing want to defect. So I told you 2 + 4, 2 + 2 is 4.
Quick mark.
Quick man, let's look at Daily Trust. Daily Trust quickly, as time is running. Let's go to Daily Trust. Presidency confirms Edun's illness. Bakari upbeat as Cameroonians elect president. Flood kills 236 persons in 27 states. FCT. Strike, no work, no pay. Federal government wants ASUU. We've taken that already. This one is what I want us to look at. 3 more Katsina LGA signed peace pact with bandits.
Non-kinetic approach.
I don't like to hear this kind of news.
We've seen the videos. We've seen the videos all over. In short, there's a video that circulated over the weekend that showed some of the governors' men or those in power attending the wedding of one of the bandits. You know,
why are they untouchables?
There's a lot back and forth.
These are lawbreakers. And then you see the Nigerian police force huffing and puffing over tint permits, you know, doing show of force. And meanwhile, you have 3 local government.
These are the things that you ask those in charge of our defense, you know, security. Is it true that 3 local government in Katsina State have signed peace pact?
I mean, for the Daily Trust, a responsible
that's why
organization to put it on their front page.
So journalists, you ask questions. Go to the defense headquarters today. Ask questions. Is it true? And if it's true, what is the way forward?
What are you doing?
Because if you are signing pact with terrorists, it means that you are vulnerable.
Succumbed.
Yeah, you are vulnerable. It means that you must meet their demands.
But they've signed before. I hope you're aware.
It's not the first time we're hearing this news. We even heard before that some of these communities are paying bandits money to go to farm, to go to market.
Yes.
In Nigeria.
Levy. If you don't pay those levies,
in Nigeria,
you get attacked.
In Nigeria, even though I also believe that these terrorists and bandits can only operate where they are allowed.
Very true. Where there's a total breakdown
Why
of law
are
and
there
order.
no bandits in Kano? Or they must teach? Why are they not rampant in Sokoto? Why is Katsina? Why is Zamfara? Why is the amphitheater Borno? Ask yourself, why is Niger? So I think we should be very careful here. Something is going on that we don't know. So journalists to make more inquiries, ask questions from the defense headquarters. The NSA should respond to this from page story of Daily Trust. If we are saying Nigeria is safe, and 3 local government, not more of the local government in Borno State, as I was told, a constant pact with terrorists, for they can allow peace to reign. You know, so why is it so? Exactly. And the country is spending billions every year on security.
All right, still on the front page, that top of the paper, Bakari upbeat as Cameroonians elect president.
And Nigeria News Center is currently, we have correspondents in Cameroon. We have been giving you wall-to-wall coverage of the elections in Cameroon since 1980. That's 45 years. One man in people's lifetime.
Is it 45 or 43 years?
Do the math.
I think it's been in, I'll double check. But he's been in power for 40, over 40 years. I think it's 43 years.
Yes.
But his closest contender, Issa Bakari, is 79 years old. The current head of state is the oldest, possibly the oldest head of state in the world. Right? So again, how do we navigate, first of all, looking at our continent, Africa's hold on power by the older generation? And they would mention Donald Trump. Donald Trump is how old?
And Biden.
And Biden is how old?
The late 70s.
Yes, they were late.
Yeah.
They were in the late 70s, like you've mentioned. They're not as young. But let's look at our continent. And what do we need to do so that these old people can free?
Is it a continental problem or a Cameroonian problem? Let's address
No,
Cameroon.
it's not a Cameroonian problem.
It's an African problem.
An African problem.
It's not
Have you seen the
tied-
president of
It's not
Botswana?
tied to Cameroon. It's not
Have you
particular
seen
to
William
Cameroon.
Ruto
Look
of Kenya?
look at Katala in Ivory Coast. Look at the man in Morocco.
Obiang of Cameroon is the,
Yes.
of Equatorial Guinea. He's the world record holder.
World record holder.
Look at the man in Central African Republic.
Isaiah Sefuerki, Eritrea.
Yes.
So,
those,
I don't have a list
it's
here.
unfortunate.
Then it's
There are
also
many
Ngueso
of
of
Equatorial Guinea.
Congo.
Ngwema.
Of Congo.
Ngwema is 83 years too.
Yes.
So
And son is the vice
it's a
president.
problem that is peculiar to Africa. You know, where there is tight, where there is weak institutions.
So what are the prospects? Looking
No,
at
no,
Cameroon?
no,
Is he going to win?
Is it, I don't,
Or are you hopeful that the 79-year-old opposition leader would now take
it's
over
when
the
you
party?
now see those military boys
From 92 to
they
79.
like to just take over the country. We say don't want military rule. So we have very weak institutions. These are the structures that the colonialists left behind, you know, to make countries like Cameroon to be subservient to their dictates forever.
Should constitutions
Nigeria
have...
have been, because of our peculiarities, Nigeria and complexity, Nigeria cannot allow this kind of thing to happen. Even a very powerful president like Obasanjo that tried implicitly, the third time, that had total ambition, did not succeed. So it's difficult here.
Now, should
So
constitutional
in Cameroon,
amendments...
I don't know what is wrong with that.
Should they include age limit or term? Like
They-
age
they-
limit?
if they put age
Is it
limit here,
discriminatory?
they will amend it. Katala
that's
in
true.
Ivory Coast came in for
Amended
two
it.
terms, amended it.
Yoweri Museveni in Uganda has amended it.
Look at the man in Togo. Nothing but the young man in Togo. The father was there for something years.
Yes,
He's there for
it's
40 years.
almost half a century
So
of
it's
the Yadema
it's a family
dynasty.
estate. So it's unfortunate, you know.
I'm hoping that, you know, Africans, that we can wake up. Because if you have had the same leader who's leading you for 30, 40, 50, 43 years, and the quality of government that you're getting hasn't very much improved, then wake up from your slumber.
Unfortunately,
How can we wake up collectively?
unfortunately, they're not complaining. They're not complaining. And unfortunately, too, there is no transparent, credible elections. Who are in charge of the elections? They are still Pobia's men. So they've been in a mess for a long time.
All right, The Guardian, quickly. Mba's exit ends PDP stake dominance in Southeast. I bet you've been following the story. Broke since Saturday.
Same thing.
That the governor will be exiting PDP to the APC. Tomorrow, it's all about the red carpets for him.
Is this surprising?
Is it a thing of joy?
That's democracy. They look at governor, abi?
Yes, they look
That's
back.
democracy made in Nigeria. You know, and you see, I don't have a problem with anybody defending to a political platform. I have a problem when the party in power, the ruling party, and its leaders are rejoicing and are embracing it openly. That's not the best for democracy. You can defend if you like, you know, but when you are trying to stiffen the political space, right? And that is why people are saying the opposition parties, that the ruling party are intimidating, harassing opposition leaders, you know, to join their party. That's not good for democracy. Because you can't be there forever. Another person will come there tomorrow and do the same thing. So we are not helping democracy by so doing. And I think even if all of them, all the governors join APC, if the APC refuse to provide good governance for Nigerians, they find it difficult to win elections. So you know the issue of defection, the issue of the APC, the ruling party, providing good governance.
So the fact that a governor defects to the ruling party,
that is what will save them from being defeated.
It doesn't guarantee votes.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still on The Guardian, I want to take top left corner. Prioritize ending impunity for electoral offences, Serap tells new INEC chair. So, Josh Amipiton.
Did what?
They're saying that he should prioritize ending impunity for electoral offences. What do you think? We have 2 years until the next election, right? Barely 2 years. to the next general elections? I mean, we have a number around the corner.
Absolutely.
What should be some of the key things he needs to tackle to show seriousness on the part of INEC?
See, I will first of all say that I was not too comfortable with the reactions of the opposition parties when they appointed the new chairman. I think the new chairman would have been more scrutinized. Check his background, check his credentials. Because this man will pretend our next election. And we have always argued here, consistently, for that matter, that if you don't have transparent, credible elections, we cannot have a sine qua non, which is good governance. You know, so I was thinking that they should have.
I mean, so far, so good. The gentleman, Professor Amopiton, doesn't. There's no uproar over his credibility.
No. I think it's qualified.
His background.
It's qualified. They've checked it. It's qualified. But they should put him under pressure. You should give Nigeria something to be proud of. Not only the election day, the process leading to the election must be transparent, must be credible. Because if elections are credible, I can bet you, people will know that they will have to come satisfy the people before they can win the elections. Okay. Not the court giving them the victory, but the people themselves. So that is what that is the challenges before the new elected chairman. You should be accountable and responsible.
3 more minutes. Let's look at this story. Security concerns Tinubu NSA NIA boss joint meeting in Rome. The president decided to take the security meeting outside of the country because he's in Rome now. He's touched down Rome. I believe we have some of the footage or the video.
Thank you so much for clearing the air on that, because I was wondering why they took it to Rome.
Yeah,
but maybe they didn't want people to hear what they are saying.
No. You guys should not simplify.
Prior to that, he also had a meeting with some of the security personnel. I think that was last week as well. And then he's having this one. So
the security personnel meet the president every Monday. After the NSC must have given a report. The commander-in-chief will receive the report from the NSC, and in line with security chiefs, they will discuss it. You know, but the president is going to Rome for the security meeting with other countries. You know, he's going to Rome, and these guys are following him to Rome. So we should not overblow it. They are meeting the president in Rome.
At the sidelines of a bigger general event.
We're not saying that there's anything bad. We're just highlighting that these are
the president can meet with his team anywhere he is in the world to protect Nigerians.
Great. We have 3 minutes to go.
They're not bad in it.
We have 3 minutes to go, and in the short time we have, I want us to do justice to these two stories that I think are very important. FG revokes Maraba Kefi Road contract over negligence and faulty design. Was there no competitive bidding? Isn't this an indictment on the FG in the first place, given the contract to such a shoddy company? And what does this say about the culture of bidding for contracts in Nigeria? And then the second one is, psychologists blame lifestyle others for emotional instability among youth. A lot of our youth, they look at pictures of beds. You know, God has done it. I serve a big God and big houses, and they're under pressure. So those two
the first one, we don't know how many companies bid for the contract. Even if the company that eventually got the contract is qualified, when the company is qualified, it has where we are, but it can still mess up. So the government is not doing its duty, doing its job, making sure that they're not doing the thing well.
Should there be punitive measures for this company? This company,
of course.
Just to mention, it was awarded to China Harbour Engineering Company. But now the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, has said the work should henceforth be handled by local contractors with a proven track record.
So,
why did not give it to them earlier?
Kudos
are we not the ones that will say
Professor of Practice?
Anyway, you wanted to touch on the final story?
Yes, psychologists blame lifestyle others for emotional. A lot of our youth are emotionally.
Not only emotionally, they take operate a bar, you know, an hotel. Nigeria's future.
From the things you see,
it's becoming increasingly bleak. Those guys are taking drugs, both young girls and young boys. And that is why in my place is there written explicitly, both in my hotels and in my bar, don't take drugs. You're not allowed to take drugs, don't come here.
Simple.
That is called Papa's Corner. No, I don't joke with it. You can't take in my place. There's nothing like NDLA visit, FCC, or police. None. Nada. So then again, the parents will also do something.
Yeah.
I have a boys and a girl. Anytime my boys are around, 3 o'clock at night, time, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I knock their door. Open. Daddy, no, open your door. No, I'm telling you because you see, in my house, obey my rules.
Yes.
So parents should enforce those things because the future of our youth, I'm not comfortable with it at all.
Also,
so it's a fine issue.
All of us have a role to play. The government also has a role to play.
Absolutely.
I don't mind is the devil's workshop.
Absolutely.
Create opportunities for employment.
Correct.
Let's integrate a lot more younger people
Correct.
into the system. But Mr. Abibarino, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you to our virtual audience, those of you dropping comments on YouTube, streaming live. Thank you for joining us. To our guests who have joined us physically and virtually. The conversations continue tomorrow, and it's always a pleasure to bring you these. My name is Olive M.O.D.
And I'm Benga Aboro. I'd like to wish my dear brother, Oluwole Aboro, a happy birthday. I love you, bro.
We love you, bro. Happy birthday to you.
Tani Bray.
See you guys.